I have my husband, and I have buffalo chicken mashed potatoes, ranch flavored mashed potatoes, salmon mashed potato, pizza mashed potatoes, and I think about them all the time. And he knows that. Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a level 1 chef. All right, my water's boiling, so I'm gonna add my potatoes.
Hi, I'm Rose. I'm a food scientist.
I'm Barry. I'm a chef at the Institute of Culinary Education, and I'm a level 3 chef. So now that the hay is smoking, I'm going to add my potatoes.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo, and I'm a level 2 chef. Look at that. It's raining yumminess. I mean, hello.
And I'm Rhoda, the video food director for Bon Appétit and Epicurious.
Oh, Jesus. I don't
They
like
had
this.
Rhoda tell us because they knew I wouldn't get mad at Rhoda.
What, did we win an award?
Exactly right.
That's why, right?
And here are all the answers.
To all of your questions.
About mashed potatoes.
All right, let's get mashing.
What is the perfect amount of milk?
And butter for a pound of potatoes.
Looking to achieve the smoothest, creamiest mashed potatoes ever.
If you're making mashed potatoes, you should probably start with more than a pound because 1 pound is not going to be enough.
There's not a straight answer to that one, but
You're gonna want a whole lot of butter.
Oh,
I like a lot of butter. Go crazy.
I like to use half a stick of butter per cup of milk.
I would say for every pound, you probably want 1/4 of a cup to 1/2 a cup of milk.
Definitely don't forget the salt. And then add cream till you get the consistency that you really want.
basically I like to put in as much butter as possible.
Who doesn't like butter? Hello.
If you're going all in, you want that to be butter potato soup, baby.
I know it's crazy, but you just can't just say that's the perfect amount. Sometimes maybe you don't need all of it.
You can always add more, but you can't take away.
And as long as the mashed potato will hold it, then you're good.
I love mashed potatoes.
What type of potatoes are best for mashed potatoes?
Yukon Gold or russet potatoes? Because it is the creamiest for a mashed potato.
Well, friend, it depends on what you like about mashed potatoes.
I personally love Yukon Gold potatoes because they have a natural buttery color and flavor, and they have just a really nice texture.
There's a couple kinds of potato.
They're mealy and waxy. Mealy potatoes are the ones you want to go with when you're making mashed potatoes because there's lots of starch in them. The starch is contained in cells, and when you start to boil the potatoes, then they start to swell and they separate, and that makes for a really nice situation where these individual cells are going to be coated with all the butter, the cream, and the salt and the seasonings.
I used a Lorat potato. It is slightly waxy, so it's more difficult to deal with, but its flavor is unrivaled.
I mean, why wouldn't you buy the right potato?
You can't really go wrong. I mean, you can't go wrong here. All potatoes are good.
Yes.
Wouldn't a mixture of multiple potatoes
Be better than a specific kind? No.
Nope.
No, absolutely not.
Again, this is not my area of expertise. I don't know why I'm in this video either, but
I think when you're making mashed potatoes, it's better just to stick with one type of potato.
They all cook differently.
unless you cook them in separate pots, and who wants that kind of inconvenience when you just want your mashed potatoes?
I love mashed potatoes. And I have a very good recipe on epicurious.com. I think it's our favorite creamy mashed potatoes with Yukon Golds.
No to that one.
good luck.
All right, here we go.
If I encounter an unfamiliar or unlabeled potato,
How do I tell whether it's waxy or starchy? This is kind of a weird question.
Now, see, these potatoes are starchy. I actually don't know if this is scientific at all, but that's my gut. Rose? Hello?
One thing you can do is if it's a small new potato,
These are thin-skinned baby potatoes.
that's kind of indicative of a waxy potato.
Rhoda? Hello? Is anybody there?
There's kind of like this classic oval shape of a russet, so if it's not labeled, you know, this is pretty easy to recognize because it looks like that classic baking potato.
If it's not labeled properly, ask your grocery person. I mean,
My mashed potatoes always turn out grainy and sour. How do I avoid it?
grainy and sour. Why is it sour?
You're one of my people. Hear me out. Baby potatoes, you just cook them till they're cooked through and then mash them. And you can put a bunch of butter in there, and it's really gonna be pretty good, and you don't have to worry about that.
If your mashed potatoes are grainy, you may not be drying them out properly at the end of your cooking process. Drain them, put Put them back in your pot and shake it a little bit over low heat. That'll help to let some of the water evaporate so that you're starting with a drier potato.
We'll make sure the potato is fully cooked. If it's not cooked enough and you try and pat it through a ricer or through a tammy, a drum sieve, then the texture will always be poor.
The sour part, I'm not really sure about.
Yeah, I mean, are you using expired ingredients?
Buy fresh cream, milk, and stuff like that. I don't know why it's going sour.
Will it get grainy? I don't know, you got dirty potatoes. Moving on.
Okay.
Do I need one of those fancy colander things or food mills that level 2 and 3 chefs used?
Can I achieve similar results with the stuff I have in my house?
Yes, you can.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't have that in my house. Look at that. It's raining yumminess. I mean, hello.
I am a firm believer that there's always something in the house you can use to pull off what you want. Just start using a meat tenderizer on it. I don't know.
If you're in a super pinch, take a glass or a mug and very carefully press your potatoes.
I just use a fork. A fork, a wooden spoon. I don't have a masher. I don't.
I didn't use a ricer. I used a tammy or a drum sieve, and this is very, very similar to like a fine sieve. Okay. Do I add potatoes to boiling water or boil potatoes in cold water?
This is a great question, and this is the first step to having great mashed potatoes, is how you actually cook your potatoes.
Did I do this wrong in that video? Yes. All right, my water's boiling, so I'm gonna add my potatoes. In fairness to me, I learned. I watched the video and I read the comments. I subscribe to Epicurious on YouTube.
Yes, it is cold water first.
Because it actually strengthens the cell walls that contain the starch granules. That way, there's more likelihood that those cells will stay individual so you can coat them with butter and cream later.
But I stand by my potatoes.
When boiling potatoes, do you boil them with or without the skin?
I'm a purist. I like creamy all-white mashed potatoes, so I prefer to peel my potatoes.
I'm team skinless, yeah.
Skin off! Yes.
If they're young, new potatoes, you can boil them in the skin, and in fact, they slip right off when you take them out of the boiling water.
If you want skin in your final product, keep the skin on. Then you can just do kind of a rustic mash when you're finished cooking.
I'm not into rustic at all.
Listen, I've never met a mashed potato I didn't like unless there was something seriously wrong with it. Right, sour and grainy, bad. But beyond that, rustic, not rustic. I don't care, I'll eat it.
What could you add in terms of spices or herbs to really elevate your mashed potatoes?
I don't know that spices or herbs are really the mashed potato thing.
Any kind of herb or seasoning that you like is really a nice thing to add to your mashed potatoes, because potatoes are a really nice format for picking up other flavors. So
I, in general, want my mashed potatoes to taste like mashed potatoes. So now that the hay is smoking, I'm going to add my potatoes and leave to smoke for about 5 minutes.
I had never heard of smoking potatoes with hay, and I thought that was actually really cool and probably gave them a nice, subtle flavor.
smoking mashed potatoes with hay is interesting, but I don't think that I want a smoky mashed potato personally. I don't think you need to use smoked hay to get an earthy quality to your potato. They already grow in the ground, so they're already earthy, slightly musty.
Honestly, when I saw Barry light up some hay, I said, get the bleep out of here. I was like, are you for real? That's just silly. I really was just like, oh God. I thought it was crazy.
I'll use other ingredients to enhance the flavor. So for example, in my video, I used creme fraiche and chives, butter and cream.
I love to infuse the dairy mixture with herbs and garlic. So I personally love thyme, but I think a variety of herbs would work nicely. Rosemary, chives.
You could usually really use anything you kind of dig, you know what I mean? If you have a favorite spice, go for it.
I've seen people do like ranch flavored mashed potatoes with like dill and onion powder and stuff.
You can add a little bit of caviar on top at the end. That's pretty nice.
All right.
Moving on.
What is the best way to minimize chunks of potato and make it creamy?
You just need to like mash up the potato real good. The masher's great also because you don't have to go to the gym because of the bicep workout.
We want to think about how you're actually mashing your potatoes.
So in my video, I use something called a tammy, which is a drum sieve. It's a very, very fine drum sieve to minimize any sort of chunk or poor texture in your potato. Just pass it through that drum sieve. It's going to solve all your problems. It comes out super, super fine.
Some people like to use those classic potato mashers that have the little design where you're mashing in a bowl.
I use the potato masher just because it's what I have. I'm sure there are fancy devices you could use.
That's going to give you a little bit more of a chunky mashed potato.
Also, don't over mix them. You don't want gummy potatoes.
As far as making it creamy,
Add an adequate amount of butter and cream or milk, and that'll really make the whole thing coalesce. It'll come together and be silky, smooth, and creamy.
Cool. You're welcome.
All right, here we go. What's the best way to get potato skins mixed in?
The mash, like they do at nice restaurants.
what? In with the mash?
If you like a rustic mashed potato, you're going to want to use just that classic masher that pretty much everyone has in their kitchen, maybe doesn't really know what to do with.
They just cut them with the skins on, that's all.
Probably don't want to like leave the whole skins on because they'll be big, but you could like break up the skins, maybe take some of them out. I guess if you really wanted to get fancy with it.
I never want to do this though. I'm not a skin guy. I don't want the skins in my potatoes. I just don't like the texture in my mouth. I want it to be as smooth as possible. And that's everything.
Everything!
There is to know about mashed potatoes.
Well, almost everything.